It is directed by Edward Berger or Edvard Berger, depending. I interviewed him when he was doing All Quiet on the Western Front, and I said, "How do you pronounce your name?" And he said, "Well, if you're in the UK, say Edward Berger, but Edvard Berger, who obviously did All Quiet on the Western Front, as you say." Script by Peter Strawn, whose credits include Tinker Tailor with Gary Oldman and Frank with Michael Fassbender, extraordinary body of work. Based on the book by Robert Harris, author of Fatherland, Enigma, the Cicero trilogy. I mean, just, and who you've recently interviewed. So, just briefly, following the death of a beloved pope, Rafe finds his Cardinal Lawrence has to lead the conclave to elect the new pope. The favourites are Bellini, played by Stanley Tucci, who you heard there, who is a progressive, who is but reluctant about the position, but actually really does want it. But he is determined not to let Tedesco, played by Sergio Castellitto, set the church back because he's a kind of reactionary right-winger. Also, there's Adeyemi, played by Luciano Masmati, who is a Nigerian cardinal with very homophobic views. And then there's Tremblay, as you said, John Lithgow, who's on screen for about 4 seconds before you think, what was the phrase you used? He's up to no good. Up to no good. He's up to no good.
He's such a great actor.
He's brilliant. Although at one point, Tucci says, "Is this where we are? Looking for the least worst option?" Or is it Tucci who says that? Anyway, somebody does. So just before the conclave starts, they discover that there is another cardinal, Benitez, who is a Mexican who has been working in Kabul and has worked in very dangerous areas, who was appointed in secret by the previous pope, which is why nobody knew about it, for their own safety. That character is played very enigmatically by Carlos Diaz. And then again, as you mentioned in the interview, Isabella Rossellini is Sister Agnes, who's the cardinal's lead caterer and housekeeper, who says very little, but when she speaks, you listen because she's not engaged in idle chit-chat. So I was thinking as I went into this, the last time I think I saw a film about conclaves was Habemus Papam, We Have a Pope, the Nanni Moretti film, in which they basically elect a pope who doesn't want to be pope and then who runs away into Rome. And, that's what the drama is about. And at the center of this, there is the character of Stanley Tucci, who is the favorite but does not want to be pope. At least he says he doesn't. But as Stanley Tucci said in the interview, kind of discovers that he does. So this is basically a religious drama as a detective story. I mean, it is everything that absolutely imbecilic Angels and Demons, which had the skydiving pontiffs, wasn't. I mean, that was a film that wanted you to believe that, the intrigue of the Vatican and all that. It's like it. No, it's not. And that stupid, the action shot of the white smoke going up the chimney. Here, the appointment or the move towards the appointment of the new pope becomes almost like a murder mystery. And in fact, at one point, I felt very smugly, I know where this is going. Like in the way you were doing, like the Mass, I know who done it. And then I was completely wrong-footed when the film did something that I completely hadn't expected it to do, but which I think it does really well, and which I think it earns the right to do, and actually kind of creates a very good philosophical and progressive conclusion. As both those actors said, meaty, chewy roles reminiscent of theatre, as you had pointed out, the theatre of the costume. I was thinking of in Gladiator, with Denzel Washington. What was the phrase you used? He loves the fabric. And here,
absolutely, yes.
There's the thing about putting on, there's the under stuff, and then the various ties and knots, and then the stuff going over the top of it. And that whole thing about the fabric, the uniform, you see somebody else because of the theatre of the costume, the theatre of the rituals, the sound of the location. I think the film's shot at Cinecittà. The sound is absolutely brilliant. And a great script about the danger of certainty, the phrase that my dad always used to use, which is the belief in a specific knowledge of God is a horrible thing. But all this happening within the seat of power of the Catholic Church, which is absolutely dedicated to doctrine and catechism and law and rules. And so all that stuff, the machinations of politics, progress, deception, the bureaucracy of the Vatican, which is a state unto itself. So essentially almost like an effectively a country and, as Ray Fiennes said, a business as well as a belief. And in the end, I think underneath it all, what it is a meditation on power, on that thing about power should never be given to anyone who wants power. when Stanley Tucci was saying at the end, that if you have certainty, things will go wrong. And you see that all the time. And obviously this is all playing out outside the walls of the conclave. We know that there's civil unrest, there's explosions, and there's disturbances. It's about the need to be open to change. It's about the need to have doubt. So, holy men who are just men, an organization which is dedicated to rules, learning that you can't be dedicated to rules. Rafe Fiennes saying it's not so much about what's said, the meaty, chewy dialogue, as what's not said, the looks in between. That great jittery score by Volker Bertelmann, aka Hauscher, who won the award for All Quiet. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. But more importantly, I was satisfied by it. I felt that the twisty turns of the plot, which at one point actually become, there's, they made the angels and demons thing. Angels and demons had skydiving pontiffs. This has an explosion, but a completely justified explosion because it's in a world in which there is turmoil outside, and it's about negotiating that. And I thought the way it concluded, I hadn't read the book, obviously you had before. I thought that it reached an ending that was not just dramatically satisfying, but philosophically satisfying. Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it.
Robert Harris is obsessed with elections. He just loves elections. He loves the process of elections. And if ever there was an election with which we should feel kind of very little engagement, it would be the election of a pope. And yet, because it kind of mirrors the divisions in society, it feels as though it's enormously relevant to almost every election that you read about.
Yes. And also the fact that the way in which the ballots take place, it just seems to be, okay, we've done a ballot, and do another one. And so you just keep doing this weird balloting process. It's not like there is an official debate depicted in the film. It's conversations in hushed corridors that may be being overheard in stairwells, and intrigue and deceit, and like I said, it does exactly the thing that Angels and Demons didn't do, which is that it genuinely turns a theological process into a dramatic political thriller without being silly.
Oscar chat about Rafe, I hear.
Oh, I would think so.
Hey, Simon, apparently we've got 20 seconds to tell people how fabulous NordVPN is.
Okay, 1, you get access to streaming services in other countries. 2, you save money on booking holidays as well as having premium cybersecurity on your devices, and all for the price of a coffee a month.
To get your exclusive NordVPN deal, go to nordvpn.com/KMTake for a huge discount on your NordVPN plan and a bonus gift.
It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the description below.